Thank you. All right. So as you all know, we are here today to do a training on the energy manager's reporting requirements. So we've got our folks from Mass Save that are going to be kicking us off. As per usual, we're going to kick off with what's today's lesson question and our learning objectives. So our lesson question is, how do I complete the quarterly grant reporting requirements to remain in good standing and demonstrate progress? Um, our learning objectives are two. One is understanding the specific reporting requirements for the Municipal Energy Manager's grant and gather the necessary data and information to meet the reporting standards. So at the start of each of these trainings, we're kicking off with the lesson question and the learning objectives. And then we're going to do a poll just to gauge kind of where folks are with the learning objectives. I recognize that folks are probably not super familiar with the reporting requirements. That's why we're doing this training. So I'm gonna launch the poll, and no stress if you are here, we're all here to learn. So let me launch that and give you guys a minute to respond, how you're feeling, to what extent do you agree with these two statements? Yeah, 20 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna close this out. So we've got a healthy mix in terms of how folks are understand the reporting requirements that are associated with their position. Got a decent amount of disagree and strongly disagree, but that's what we're doing today. Mostly folks are neutral in terms of their confidence and ability to complete the reporting requirements. But again, I think after today, you'll all feel much more invigorated and knowledgeable of what are the requirements. So thank you for taking that. I'm going to, oops, did not mean to annotate. I'm going to take us or pass over to our Mass Save partners and need to introduce themselves and take over in terms of the presentation. Jen?
Thanks, Julia. Would you mind progressing the slides for me?
Sure. Or maybe, do you want to just say, hey, Lori and
I'm sorry,
Shannon?
is it
No,
Lori
that's okay.
who's sharing right now, or is it you?
It'll be me, but I just wanted to get folks aware of who will be presenting today. So
Oh,
Lori from
gotcha.
National Grid, Jen from Eversource, and Shannon from the NEED Project. Okay, now over to you.
Okay. Thanks, Julia. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Really happy that you started off with a poll, Julia. It's really helpful to see how people are feeling going into this. And we totally understand the feelings of uncertainty as this is a new program. And we are, at this point, haven't released too much information related to the reporting requirements. But like Julie mentioned, that's why we're here today. And hopefully you will be feeling more confident at the end of this session. So we're going to review the program goals and move into the quarterly reporting expectations. So really this session will be focusing mostly on what the criteria is. It's less so, we're not gonna be spending as much time on the logistics of uploading to the NEED template and going over more of those like an instructional session. We will have time at the end for Shannon to touch on some of that. There's going to be a lot of follow-up information as far as what documents and templates you can use to help you fill out that report and how to use the portal, the NEED portal, to do so. We are going to cover some tools that you can consider using to help you track your progress in the role. And we will cover future reporting expectations through the program. So the quarterly reports and then the annual report we'll cover. There's going to be an additional training for that one. Next slide. So the expectations of the municipal energy manager role is to understand the energy management practices within your municipality, This is going to vary greatly from municipality to municipality. So it's important to take the time to understand how that process will work, what steps you need to take to um, prioritize projects, and who are the folks that you should be partnering with to get approval to undertake decarb projects. So utilize the technical assistance that we offer through the Mass Save program to identify projects and help you prioritize and create goals. Identify funding opportunities, make the case for projects to proceed, implement projects, track your progress, and celebrate your success. So that really is where this reporting fits in. So it not only is for the purposes of this grant offer through our program and for us to be able to continue to offer this grant opportunity long term, but it really is also going to be a great tool for you to utilize to have more success in your role and as a development opportunity for you as an energy manager. Next slide. So within the curriculum that MAPC has put together for this program, this quarterly reporting training, our annual reporting training, really fits under the tracking and communicating success. So we want you to have the flexibility within the reporting and the way that you're tracking your progress to do what really works well for you within your municipality and within your role, to feel that you're confidently showing the value that you're bringing to your municipality. So it's really valuable for us and our offering for this grant, but it's going to be really valuable for you in your own professional development. Next slide. So the main elements within the quarterly report, there is a section on grants that you've identified and applied for so far. Technical assistance, which technical assistance you have taken advantage of through Mass Save. Work plan progress. Lori will go over this in more detail. There's a few different elements within that work plan. Quarterly implementation. So which are the school and municipal buildings that you will be prioritizing in the next quarter? And then what are the key learnings and key challenges that you have found within the current quarter? Next slide. Thanks. So the first section, like I said, is related to grants. So we are looking for a list of the grants that have been applied to so far. There is going to be opportunity for you to provide more context related to the grants that you are researching, like what efforts you're putting into currently to apply for grants in the future. There's going to be space for you to do that within your work plan. So really within the quarterly report, in this first section of the quarterly report, it's more quantitative, like which grants have you already applied for. But just a little bit more about planning for grants. A lot of research goes into that, a lot of work goes into that before actually even applying. Is the grant a good fit for your municipality? Who are the key players that you need to work with to be able to apply for this grant? And then what are those timelines, milestones going to look like? Like how far in advance do you need to start planning to apply to this grant? And then we have listed here a couple of grants for you to consider that have upcoming due dates. So Green Communities, the fall block grant is due later this month. There will be the spring block grant in April. Their annual report is due November 7th. And there is a Green Communities Summit coming up on November 18th. There also is the Mass DEC Green Schoolworks grant. This is actually going to be a second round of this grant, which this was recently released. The pond is still hasn't been released yet, but the due date should be later this fall, as well as the TESI grant, Transforming Energy in Schools initiative with DOER. This will be due late fall as well. Next slide. So this is a screenshot of what those fields will look like within the NEED portal to complete the grants section of the report. So once again, it's really just a list of the grants applied for, and then additional context related to like grant activity will go in the 90-day work plan. Next slide. So the next section is related to studies or the technical assistance, MassSave technical assistance. Within your deliverables for this program, we have listed specifically taking advantage of portfolio prioritization plans and comprehensive building assessments. We do have a MassSave overview training later this month. I think it's on the 27th, where we will be able to go into the technical assistance offers in more detail. But at a high level, we are looking for you to take advantage of portfolio prioritization plans and comprehensive building assessments. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So you can see here, kind of the progression of technical assistance through our programs and working towards identifying incentives that you can take advantage of to support your projects. So the portfolio prioritization plan, the comprehensive building assessment, they're really at the very early stages and helping you identify and prioritize. Obviously, the portfolio prioritization plan, helping you narrow down specific buildings that will that have the greatest potential for decarbonization. So these studies are offered at no cost. There is a cost cap, but it is offered at no cost to you. And we would work with you on this initial step of these scoping studies and then work towards helping you determine which projects or energy conservation measures we can support through the program. Next slide. So this is what the fields look like within the report. So it really is just once you're in there, checking off what the status is. Anything that's complete, you can upload as an attachment. And any additional comments related to initiating and planning to take advantage of either of these studies, you can put in the 90-day work plan if you, think more context is needed if you haven't started yet. So now I will pass it over to Lori.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm super excited to be on here with all of you again. I'm going to go through this 90-day work plan, and I've got a couple of examples I want to go through as we go of each of these areas. So it's like a bunch of text-heavy stuff in these slides, not a lot of pictures. I'd rather show you some examples of what some other customers are using. I guess my take on this reporting is, yes, we need to have an understanding of the progress that you're making, but I also feel like reflecting on what Jennifer said earlier, this is your really great opportunity to start making some big strides towards having structure to the way that things are tracked in the communities that you're supporting. So I'm going to give you examples of the way people have done that in other communities. This might start out small, and then this quarter it's going to be possibly a smaller report than it will be when you get 3 and 4 quarters in, based on the types of opportunities you have to visit buildings and start to document some of the things that I'm going through here. So why don't we go down first to what are the elements of the 90-day work plan? Why don't we you stay in your slides? I think it'll be easier. And then when I need to share screen, I think I will. So the idea is that you're going to prepare a 90-day work plan. And what we want you to do in that work plan is not only reflect what you were able to accomplish in the last 90 days, but kind of looking forward, what do you hope to accomplish? And that's got a couple of elements to it. So why don't we go down to the next slide? Um, the first element is to do an energy management assessment. And that sounds like something that you would have someone else come in, but actually what we're looking for is for your take on what you found as you've gone around and talked to the various stakeholders that you're working with. So it could be the facilities team, it could be the superintendent's office, it could be the planning department. There's various folks that you can engage with to get a better gauge of where, a better understanding of where the community sits. So what we're looking for here is the community dedicated through some plans that they've made? Maybe they've got a climate action plan. Maybe they've got an energy efficiency plan for municipal buildings. Maybe they've got a green communities plan. Maybe they've got a variety of things that they do in terms of green teams in their community. What we're trying to do is gauge where things stand with the community so that you can identify where you may need to assist with evolving things. So some of you are going to go into communities and they're not going to have a climate action plan. They're not going to have an energy efficiency plan. They're not going to have a fleet evolution plan. They're not going to have anything, right? And you're going to learn that by talking to people. That's what we're hoping to get in this first section of the 90-day work plan is where do things stand with the various entities that are your stakeholders that you're trying to support. So I don't want you to go into long descriptions, but it would be nice to have a brief description of where things stand in the communities you support. So some of you are supporting many communities. What you have in those, you may have them bulletized. Others of you have one community, and we need that to be, obviously reflective of what you found in the community departments that you visit. So recognition that this is going to look differently, different for each of you, depending on how many communities you're actually supporting. Next slide, please. Okay, the energy management plan, and I want to give you some examples of what this could look like. This is, for many of you, is going to be a spreadsheet with a targeted set of buildings and the pipeline of projects for those buildings for the energy efficiency and decarbonization projects that they're pursuing. I'm going to be honest, when I work with communities today, this takes many different forms. Some of you work off of what you're already putting together for green communities and kind of make that as your starting point from which other projects are driven and find alternate funding sources. So you keep a pipeline of things. And then when green communities comes around, you pull from that pipeline into a different section and identify those as green communities projects. I'm all about not reinventing the wheel. If that's a strategy that works, that there's some overlap with what you're already doing for green communities, like please leverage that. Try to come up with something that you can create once and use twice. And I understand that like for some of you, this won't exist and you're going to have to start from scratch. And that's one reason why we wanted to show you some examples and would be glad to share with you the examples that we have. So I'm going to share the screen now, and then we'll come back to the slide deck. Okay. And Jennifer, can you just tell me, can you see what I'm displaying?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so this is an example of a tracking tool. And what I like about this example, we took it down to just a couple of examples for their schools. And then down at the bottom, you'll see some of their public safety buildings. And then down the bottom, you can see the police department. It could be as many rows as you need it to be. But what I wanted to do is show you like the basics on the building that this community gathered. So address, what the department it sits in, kind of classified this as small, medium, and large buildings. Do they own it? Do they lease it? What year was it built? So you can see all these categories. I think some key things that you're going to be asked for in grants. I see square footage asked for all the time. It would be a great thing for you to start to gather. It may take some visiting to get that for some of your buildings. We recognize that. So in some cases, this may be empty for some of your facilities, and you're going to, be filling it out as you go. I know some of you have hundreds of buildings. Like, I'm not expecting this day one. It may actually, for those of you who have a large portfolio, you may want to take that portfolio that's probably tracked in another spreadsheet and figure out how to take that spreadsheet and expand it to have these elements that will be helpful for you as you go. And I want to go through up through green here are what are the facilities in that school that are covered. So this was actually a vocational technical high school, so it has a lot of these other labs and shops. And then on-site personnel contacts. This is a really important thing to have. And obviously you can take this and use it as you see fit. EUI, you can get your EUI, energy use intensity. It's a way of comparing all of your buildings to one another and to other buildings that are in the same category. Cross country, you could potentially do it to see whether the energy use intensity of the high school is lower or higher than averages either for the state or for the country. Really important information that can be pulled directly from Mass Energy Insight MEI. And then what's on here that I really like is they started to track the projects in terms of lighting, the building envelope. So have projects been done and when were they done? And just some details about them as they went. This equipment for heating and cooling is really important to start gathering because as you get a sense when you talk to these facilities directors about projects, it's going to be really interesting to start to gauge like how old is the equipment on certain facilities and what have you learned about when they're expecting it to fail, and you can start to put that in here. Similarly, controls, how old are the controls in the facility, maybe how the controls are related to one another across facilities. A lot of schools and others try to get one system so they can go to one place to manage. That's a long-term project, but something for you to consider. And also what's great about this is as you know more about each of the facilities that you're looking at, we can start to track whether the incentives that are available through Mass Save would help you with these projects. So as you learn more, we can help you with understanding what the incentives would be if you actually went about changing things. This particular person also included solar, which I love. How big is the roof space? What is the age of the roof? That's a really important element, especially if you're going to be going after some of the Green School Works funding. If you have an older roof, maybe not such a good idea to put the solar array on the roof, but maybe a solar carport makes more sense in the parking lot. And then I love what they started to do here, which is what is the backup power? What kind of EV chargers scenarios are at the sites? And then what is the likely electrical service upgrade needed if you were to electrify the school and add EV chargers? A lot of this information that's in here is going to be touched on in the comprehensive building assessment if you decide to have one on this particular building. So really, really great way to start gathering this. This particular person also started to keep track based on their Green Communities report, what the number was for a certain fiscal year. Make this what you need it to be. Obviously, this is a little bit older, but might want to start tracking that either on this tab or on a separate tab for the progress. So this was one way to look at the schools, look at the, like here you can pull this down and say, I just want to look at schools. So I'm just going to get rid of those two and just take a look at the schools, and it's a little bit more digestible. What I also like about this is they tied it into looking at various grants that are available. And this is their grant table. So we're going to ask you, not a grant table from a particular grant, but for the municipality and schools itself. So what are the funding sources and what projects are being considered for those funding sources? I like this because it gives you the opportunity to also put in the electric app number and the gas app number, the incentives that you're getting from both. And then if you're going after grant funding and there's some requirements for a city match, this allows you to put that in there. So you kind of know what your delta is and whether you need to go after other funding sources to make up the difference with a project. So this is one example. I'm glad to take into consideration others, but I thought this would be a nice way to get you started at the kinds of things that we're looking for. What I liked in here also is this lets you look at past energy conservation measures. And of course, it's not going to let me bring it up right now. Anyways, when we send the document out, it'll open up for you. I'll make sure we test it out a little bit. So I should have stopped sharing. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the slide deck and figure out where we are next. I'm actually going to go to the work plan and start talking through that instead of sharing the spreadsheets now. So we're giving this to you. It will be available shortly on the portal that Shannon manages. And I basically want to just take you through what the document that you could start in Word if that's easier for you. But I think some of the spreadsheets that we're giving you would be nice things to have as the appendices in here. So I went through the energy management assessment. That's the first thing we're going to ask you a lot of questions about. I just went through some examples for an energy management plan. What we're looking for here, like I mentioned at the beginning, is 3 months of pipelines of projects. So obviously you've been doing this now for a month, most of you. You may not be able to go out 3 months. Do the best you can. I think in the retrofit area, you all should have a couple of buildings that you're looking at that you are tracking. I put in here also complex projects. The reason I'm doing that is that you're going to find as you go out and start to look at the buildings, that some of them are going to have major retrofits that are happening. Could be ground up new construction. You could uncover, we're closing the school down for the next year to work on it. Like, would be good to have those in a spreadsheet as well, so you can keep track not only of when the projects are going to start, when they're going to be complete, but also make sure that those projects get fed into the Mass Save new construction program, so you get incentives for those as well. I've had many customers that when they actually started to participate and engage with our new construction program, there was a moment in time where they realized that if they electrified the building, they actually A, got more incentives, and B, were able to leverage incentives differently than they would have if they hadn't engaged with us. So it's a really good thing to catch early during schematic design for those major projects. That being said, I would say in a lot of the bigger buildings where we work, just a heating system change out could be considered a major project and potentially going out to bid for several $1,000,000. So I kind of split these up into retrofit and complex projects based on like kind of whether it's going out to bid. Do you see some serious design work that's got to happen with the project? You might, if you see design work, you may want to put that in the complex projects section. And we can talk more when you uncover some of these. We can talk more during your quarterly meetings that we're going to start having if you're not sure how to categorize something. Okay, so that's the next section of the plan. I'm just going to stay in this document. I know it's text heavy, but I'm going to talk through these. So comprehensive list of funding options. What we're trying to understand here is to take what Jennifer covered about the various funding sources that are available and have you actually identify those that match well in the next 3 months to projects that you're considering undertaking. So if there's a grant that's going to be coming out in the next 3 months and there's a need, we'd love it to be shown in the quarterly grant table what those projects are. I'm going to call out some of these. So on Friday, the Transforming Energy in Schools initiative was announced. We will give that to Shannon and to Julia to share with you all where the link is for that information. I will be honest, that's going to be a highly competitive grant. Folks are going to have a completed comprehensive building assessment, as well as be serving schools that have 40% low income students in the school that you're targeting. So it's a subset of a lot of schools in Massachusetts, but you may work in a city or town that it's a good candidate. So bringing it up now. We've also gotten word that the Green School Works program has an additional $20 million of funding that's going to be coming out sometime in the next month. That it can be used on projects that are for renewables or decarbonizing buildings. Similarly, there's going to want you to at least have started a comprehensive building assessment. So this is where it becomes really important that you kind of dilute down those projects that you've uncovered so far and determine if you want to try to go after those grants, what your strategy is, understanding the thresholds for the grants. I can't say what Green Schoolworks looks like this time around. They did have a round in, it was probably in the March timeframe. I'm guessing the requirements are going to be similar. So maybe you can take a look at what they look like last time around. And if you can't get to it, we can obviously supply you with basic information on that as well. A lot of these that are new and that are for decarbonizing schools are for targeting folks who are serving for student populations that are 40% low income, like I mentioned, and that's going to make some of you have schools that aren't eligible. So we can work through that. If you don't know how to look up what your percent of population of low income is, we can direct you to the Department of Education. I think it's DESE that has it. We'll get you a list that has a link that has what you need for looking that up for the schools that you're serving. I also want to bring up in this section for the funding options, there may be in some of the grants that you're going after a need for letters of support or signatures from leadership or department heads, prior grants being closed out before you move on to another round of grants. Those are things that it's good to keep track of in a comment section, kind of where you are, and that way it'll bring it to the surface when we all meet with you in your quarterly meetings. What do you need so we can support you best? Is there a letter from the utility that's needed? Is there, letter from your leadership? Do you need to know what a letter looks like? Did the grant give you a sample? If they didn't, maybe we can help you with figuring out what that needs to look like. So that's all I wanted to say about list of comprehensive funding options. And then the last section that's in here, I am going to go back to the slides for this one. So hold on 1 minute. Here we go. I just want to get down so I can show you. So I put a link in here. You'll have it. It basically brings you to.
I don't see the slides, Lori, but I'm happy to share.
Yeah, can you go to slide 22 and I'll stop sharing?
Yep.
That would be awesome. Thank you. And I think I've shared the things that I need to show. Okay. You could see the 90-day work plan when I was going through it though, right?
Just not the slides again.
Okay. Perfect. So there we go. So if you go to the link that's in the prior slide, you're going to get to, this is MEI's list of trainings that they have for various things that you may want to do. I know many of you were on the call last week with Mark Rubinski. He did a great job kind of helping you with maneuver MEI. You're going to want to dive into these new report sections, and you're going to be able to, from there, look at your emissions for the buildings that are in MEI, as well as, I believe, for your fleets. Would love to have you pull the visual reports of that so that you can start to track that in your quarterly reports, and just pick the last fiscal year where you have complete data in there, and then start going forward from there, so that you have the information to answer the question that's in the quarterly report. Basically trying to get you to the metric tons of CO2 equivalent part of this report. But I also, just from talking with Mark, there's a lot of great ways to slice and dice your information on MEI that can help you with understanding not only your energy use intensity, but other things and other native units that you may want to look at, so that you can reflect on how things are going, and also use it as an opportunity. If things look wrong for a building, there's a chance that there's possibly something wrong with the data that you've got coming from the utility. Maybe something's going on with the meter, and this is also a chance to have you look at it and take a look and see if things look right. I think what's interesting about the timing of when our quarterly report is due, and also then I think a week later your Green Communities annual report is due. I'm hoping we're not asking you significantly different things to report on, and that getting an MEI and grabbing this is not cumbersome for you, that you can actually have it be a valuable thing to do as you're getting ready for those green communities reports. Okay, next slide. Okay, the other things that are going to be entered into the page that Shannon's going to go over when we get done just talking about this conceptually. Shannon's going to show you where you would actually go and what this looks like. We're going to ask you about the municipal and school buildings that are your priorities for the next quarter. It could be a couple on each one. It could be that you're just going to stay focused on the school buildings. There's no judgment here. It's just wanting to understand which buildings are your top priorities. Understanding that also that's going to shift as you start to get grant funding, and may look different than the next quarter. You may have some that are in progress and others that are new targets for you. That is completely fine. We understand that once you actually get funding for a project, that you're likely going to be working on the stuff that you're implementing and trying to identify new things. I think one of the things I would love to have this help you do is many of the communities that I work with are starting to do their budgeting process for next fiscal year. And if you can get tied into that and start to ask the people who know in your community where last year's allocated budget list is. It's oftentimes on websites, but sometimes you can meet someone. It's not always the same person or location in from community to community. But if you can get a sense of what they funded last year, and then this will help you with, okay, are there commonalities that I'm starting to see? They did a couple buildings last year in the school department. They're going to do a couple this year. It'll help you with targeting things. And I'm going to bring to you some examples that I see often. I see rooftop units failing. When I hear that there's rooftop units on their capital plan, my first question is, would you be willing to consider electrifying those when you replace them rather than doing them in kind? Let's talk about what that would mean in terms of budget and how much your incentives could potentially cover any delta between doing something in kind and doing a heat pump version of that equipment. Same thing with folks who are talking about chillers that have failed. I've had several communities where a chiller showed up on a capital plan, sometimes even with grant funding sources. And it's really a great opportunity to put a heat pump chiller in. Just had my first 2 in the state go live, and I can't wait to share the pictures with everyone on here. So just wanted you to know what the options were, and get the idea in your head that when you see things on the capital plans, those are great opportunities where folks who are making that request don't necessarily understand what decarbonization of buildings are, and that between 68 degrees and 45 degrees or 40 degrees or 35 degrees, that equipment could be running as a heat pump and potentially offsetting your fossil fuel usage in that facility. Okay, quarterly implementation priorities. We'll go to the next slide then. And this is really just trying to get a sense from you all. And we're looking for a couple bullets here from each community. A summary of your key learnings and a summary of your key challenges. I personally am interested in key challenges because if we start hearing things that we don't have trainings for, Julia and the team can potentially put that on the agenda for something that we want to focus on in the near term that we can help you with. So I want to see this, not necessarily for reporting back to the DPU, but for trying to make this program better for all of you. So really want to, hear your thoughts here. This isn't going to be a hard data thing. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the reporting schedule. It'll be in there for you to look at. The way things basically work is you've got a Q1, Q2, Q3, and then you've got an annual report. We're going to be doing a separate training for that annual report, and we'll get you that information probably sometime in mid-December to early January about what that annual report's going to look like, so that you have that information. But otherwise, the quarterly reports will look very similar to what I just went through. We may experiment a little bit with whether PDF, Word document turned into a PDF is the best way for getting that 90-day work plan, or whether we want to ask you to do some spreadsheets for us. And we'll get through this first quarter with the way it is now, and possibly change that as we go. It'll be the same type of information that we're asking for, though. Okay, next slide. Okay, so today we are covering the reporting and that item. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the things that are going to be coming up. So later this month, we're going to have navigating Mass Save programs, and I know Julie is going to go through this in more detail. Some of the things that we're planning for next year are site visits to high efficiency buildings. We'd love to get you into net zero fire station and net zero school. I think that there's also discussion about potentially visiting a library that was a retrofit that's now all electric. Some other things that we're doing is we're going to be scheduling heat pump manufacturer trainings with you, so that you can actually talk to the folks that not only build the equipment, but do a lot of the design engineering engagement with folks out in the field who are the design engineers. They'll meet with a Mitsubishi or a Daikin or a Train and actually get assistance, like, can I build this in this setting, and have a good sense of what these projects cost to build, which I think is a great thing for you all to get some exposure to. Another thing I like about doing the heat pump manufacturer training is it's oftentimes in a facility where you can see the equipment working, which is really great. So, and then I think next, let's see what we've got as a next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna, at this point, make one comment and then send the baton over to Shannon to walk through what the portal looks like with y'all, just so you can get a feel for it. I will be honest that a couple things are going to get uploaded during the week. Those example documents will be uploaded probably by end of day Wednesday. But in the meantime, we've got the 90-day work plan that will get put on the portal very shortly. That is done. One thing I did want to comment about that has to do with the eligible things that you all can work on, and bring this up just so that there's no confusion. When the DPU agreed for us to do this demonstration of energy managers, the one area that they said the money could not be used for is for your municipal aggregation projects. And I noticed in the chat that some of you do have municipal aggregation projects. So if you're getting funded by dual sources, that's fine. You can use that other money to cover the hours that you're working. But if you're getting fully funded by this energy manager, Mass Save Energy Manager grant, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to spend time on municipal aggregation projects because this is a ratepayer funded program, and they want the bulk of the work being done on things related to Mass Save. So, and if you are one of those people who are doing that currently and are in a pickle now because I've told you this and you didn't know it before, like, glad to talk with you separately offline and we can chat about it further. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton then to Shannon. And Shannon, I think you were going to show some examples, right?
I am, and I'm going to try to share my screen really quickly. Okay, so hopefully everybody saw my message about getting into the portal. And I am going to put some links in the chat here for you. If you haven't already, I might have to stop sharing to get back to the chat. If you haven't already gotten into the portal, the link to the portal is there, as well as the SurveyMonkey, where you can tell me what your username is once you create an account in the portal. So if you are the person that submitted the grant, your grant will appear here when you log in under My Grant Applications. If you are not the person that initiated and submitted the grant, which is going to be most of the MEMS here, you're going to find that under Resources for Recipients, followed by your shared grant. And so you will see your grant listed here. You see I have access to everybody, so I have a big long list there. Contacts and dates The link to the training schedule is here, resource library, links out to the 90-day work plan guide, as well as the MESM Academy. And what you're here for today is about reporting. And I'm going to go quickly because I've only got 5 minutes, but I'm happy to meet with anybody if you get stuck along the way. And I'm also going to make a walkthrough video and share that with everybody. Right now, we've got 2 buttons here under the reporting tab. So remember, it's resource for recipients, then reports. And we'll click on the quarterly report. Right now, the annual report button is inactive, but we'll get that built out for you before the next training on reporting. We're going to come in here, and the first screen just tells you what you need to gather together before you jump in to start submitting things through the portal. So get your 90-day work plan together. We have some templates for you to make tables for your comprehensive building assessments, your priorities for municipal buildings, and your priorities for school buildings. And it may come to pass that we create some other templates for you to make the 90-day work plan submission a little bit easier and streamline that. So then you'll come to a screen where it will list out the different projects that you are associated with. Most of you will only see one thing here. Some of you may be consultants working for multiple municipalities. You might see multiple things listed here. So I'll just use one of my test projects here. You write the name of the awardee, your contact name, your email, phone, which quarter, and which year. Be certain that you put a correctly formatted email address in this field, or you're not going to be able to get any further. So I will just pop in my name there for now and just pop through here and show you real quick. So next. This is where you're going to be able to enter the grants that you have applied for, and you'll be able to enter up to 10. If you think you're going to have more than 10, reach out to me and we can fix that. And once you say how many grants you have, it'll populate the number of lines. So you can put the name of the grant and the dollar amount. And next. Here is the scoping studies. So your portfolio prioritization plan, you're giving us a status update and then uploading your document, your PDF that has your text. The same here for the comprehensive building assessments. Here for the 90-day work plan, there's just a checkbox to say that, yes, I'm uploading my 90-day work plan. You come over here and click upload, select your PDF, and then click submit. You'll get a box that prompts you that says, yes, the upload is done. And when you click on it, you're not going to see any visual indicator that something has been uploaded. So don't panic if you don't see that. Just keep moving on. This is why you want to have all of your materials prepared before you come in here. And then there's just progress checks here for the other items that were listed in that guide that Lori just walked us through. So we go next. And here for your priorities for the next quarter for the municipal buildings and the school buildings, again, a checkbox and an upload of a CSV. And then those key learnings. And remember, we want to hear from you on what you need to be successful, any roadblocks you're encountering. We click next, and then don't forget to click submit. Now, let's say you submit it and you want to update something. Well, what you'll do is you'll go back to your grant applications or in the resources for recipients under shared grant. You would go into your grant application and you can see the notes and attachments, the follow-up fields. The reports are considered follow-ups, so you will see your item loaded here. So that's where you can double check to make sure it is uploaded. I know that was super fast, but I will, like I said, I will film a short walkthrough video for you. And I want to send it back to, I see Julia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, we got a couple questions in the chat that I just want ask you to address before we do our wrap up. The first, just wanted to confirm the due date for this quarterly report is October 31st. Ted asked, for those of us working with multiple towns, do they need to do a separate quarterly report for each town or a single quarterly report for all of the towns?
A single quarterly report for the grantee. But those CSVs or Excel files that would work as well for some of these. We're going to have a column where you can indicate the municipality. That way we can sort by municipality when we need to report that separately. Evan, anything else relevant to you there?
No, that would be perfect.
Question
All
from
right.
Kai?
Kai?
Thank you. I was wondering what the difference is between the portfolio prioritization plan and the energy reduction plan that we need to submit as part of the Green Communities application, because it seems to me that much of what's in the energy reduction plan could be used for something called a portfolio prioritization plan. Thanks.
So I'm going to take this one, and then Jennifer, you want to add anything, feel free. So one thing I wanted to emphasize also is not everyone has to do a portfolio prioritization plan, but if you're looking to get I'll call it a 10,000 foot view of everything that's going on in the portfolio, a portfolio prioritization plan is a great tool to use. I would say that it's great from the perspective of not only are you going to know what's going on with the top 75% of your emitters in the portfolio, but you're going to get direction in there about the first, second, and third groups of buildings that you may want to consider doing comprehensive building assessments on. So that comprehensive building assessment is going to be the 1,000 foot view out of a building. You can't do all of your buildings in your portfolio. That's one reason why we say possibly a portfolio prioritization plan is a good start. They will come out and visit, and they will give some indication. There's about 1 page on each building, some indication of like the life expectancy of the equipment that's in each of those buildings. And like I said, which are the first group that you would consider doing a comprehensive building assessment on. That comprehensive building assessment is going to be the deep dive. That's going to be a 10 to 30 page report, depending on how big the building is. There are thresholds for how much usage the building has to have in order to be considered for a comprehensive building assessment. I know with some of the smaller towns that are included in the MEM arrangement, you're going to probably only get over that threshold on your schools. Like they're for the bigger users in the community. If you work in a city, it'll be a lot easier to find bigger users where you have more population density and the buildings are used more fully. So I would say my answer to you is I don't know how comprehensive your energy reduction plan is in terms of giving you direction as to which of those first buildings you may want to study would be. So I don't want to judge, but Kai, I'm glad to look at what you've got and see whether like it's helpful. I also think that there's some good guidance that you're going to get from the buildings owners and operators as to whether they think I'm ready to jump just right in with this comprehensive building assessment on this building. I know it's got a lot of things that are pain points for me. I can't focus on the other 80% of the portfolio. I need to just do this one building. That may be a sign to you, like either I get a comprehensive building assessment done, or maybe it's time to just have vendors come out and start visiting those facilities. Did that get at what you needed to know, Kai?
Yeah, basically, but I'll follow up with you. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. We can chat it up.
Are there example plans that we can see, or like example comprehensive building assessments, or example?
So the comprehensive building assessment you would get by doing, like signing up. It's a no cost assessment that MassSave does. So you don't have to have an example of that to be able to do.
I think we're just like as we're evaluating what we need, is there like an example we can see of what we would get if we do it?
Yeah, I think we can probably give you the sections that are covered in the comprehensive building assessment, because it's like a structure that's the same from assessment to assessment. So yeah, we could probably pull that. Shannon and Julia, can you take a note for me to try to get a hold of that to share with the group? That would be great.
And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the overarching one, but it would be great to see.
Portfolio prioritization plan.
Thank you.
It
Yes,
has to be a 3-letter acronym, PPP, because everything has to be
okay.
an
I'll
acronym.
call it the PPP.
You could
Gotta
call it
love an
whatever you
acronym, right?
want.
So yeah, I'd love to see an example of a PPP just to see what we
Those are brand new with this 3-year
okay.
plan. So I don't have examples that are standard. I mean, I've only completed one with a customer so far. I can get you structure for that one too, probably, and you can see what the sections are that we cover.
That would be
So,
great. Thank you.
yeah, yep, sure. I see another hand up. Andres?
Yeah, Lori, thank you. I was wondering, how do we access this? Do we reach out to you for talking about the prioritization plan and the comprehensive assessment?
Yeah. So you could, if you want to just chat about whether it's a good idea, you could definitely reach out to me. I would suggest you reach out to your utility representative that's on the electric side of the community that you're considering doing one of those in. So when we all met in the orientation, there was Eversource and National Grid representatives. If you don't know who serves the community that you're looking at, Shannon has a list. You can definitely find out, was it Eversource or is it National Grid? And Shannon can also tell you who the rep is that would be the person to talk to. But it's usually the person who's on the electric that you're going to be doing that portfolio prioritization discussion with. And I'm glad to join any of those calls if they're National Grid. And obviously Jennifer will direct you to the right person for Eversource.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. I see one other hand up. I think that's it. Do we have to, I'm glad to keep going. Julie, are you okay if we keep going?
We do have just 2 more slides, Tamsin. You can ask your question and then just ask if folks are able to stay on for 2 more minutes just to wrap up and share some important next steps.
Great. Can you tell us what the similarities or differences is between a comprehensive building assessment and the ASHRAE audits, the levels?
ASHRAE level 2 audit or level 1 audit. Yeah. So a comprehensive building assessment is going to fall in between ASHRAE level 1 and ASHRAE level 2. So they're fairly comprehensive. They're more than you would get from just having a vendor visit. Like there's an actual write-up with some recommendations, but they're more than an ASHRAE level 1. Does that help? Okay, perfect. Julie, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, everybody. I'm actually going to, pass it to Samiksha to wrap us up and talk about some of our next steps.
Yes, hi. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I sent in the chat our evaluation form. We would love for you to fill those up so we have feedback from our instructors and to shape our upcoming trainings as well. I'll reshare the link. We also have exciting events lined up. I'll take a moment to reintroduce the Pure Learning Network. You should have received an email from Macklin as well as a calendar invite for the October 15th meeting. That will be our first PLN meeting. This is mostly a space for you to connect with each other to kind of create that community among energy managers. And we'll shape those up with tools, case studies, just a chance to have more face-to-face time with each other. We'll also have an optional office hours. Thank you for those who joined us last month. Again, this is also a chance to kind of have that face-to-face time with program administrators, ask questions of each other and of them. Then we have 2 other trainings. On October 27th, we'll have the training on massive program and incentives. And on the 3rd of November, there'll be a training on grant writing and creating project pipeline. That was a speed run, but looking at time, we have the website and our Canva updated with the calendar. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Folks have any other kind of follow-up questions, and you're able to stay on, feel free. I don't know, Lori, if you are.
Yeah, I can stay on.
But otherwise, thank you all so much. We'll see you in a few weeks. Or we'll see you next week for the Pure Learning Network. Bye-bye.